All right. Hey, folks. It's Friday afternoon, and instead of a quick live draw, we've drawn a lot of pages this summer so far, and I thought maybe we'd look at how to scan some pages and process them so that you get the best possible results if you print them out as a mini comic or as a graphic novel. So I have a couple examples, a couple work samples I want to work with today. First, I thought we'd start off with something from the vault. So I climbed up into my attic crawl space and I found my old sketchbook from 1993-94. And there is a page here that I drew while I was in college. These are the very first episodes of a daily newspaper strip I ever drew. And I drew this daily strip for 3 years. It was called Quasar Blasters in the 1990s, sci-fi strip. So we're going to try scanning some of those and we'll see how they come out. And I also have a page we drew yesterday, so a little less old. We inked this yesterday live on Facebook and elsewhere. So we'll scan that and see how that comes out. And then I have a page I drew this morning, which will be a front cover for a new mini. So we'll see how that turns out. All right, so let's see. So first I'm going to take this. I don't recommend using a spiral bound notebook anymore. As you see, I usually draw on loose leaf paper now because it fits in a scanner or a copier a lot better. I have to climb down under my desk here, and I can't really show you this. I've set up my scanner under my desk. My desktop is clear, right? And also it's kind of like my cartoonist yoga program where I've been drawing all morning, and when I'm ready to scan, I have to like stretch and climb under. And I don't know if that's recommended by the Cartoonist Yoga Association or not, but it's nice to stretch and climb under furniture sometimes. All right, so I have it in there. I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see if we can pull this up. Whoa, I'll have to close that window down. And now I should be able to open up the scanner. Now I'm using an Epson scanner. No matter what scanner you're using, it's going to look a little different. But the basic thing we need to do here, and just check my windows. Let's put that all the way across. All right. The basic thing we have to do here is make sure we have the right size paper, and this is about an 8.5 by 11 page. It is laid on the scanner bed landscape like that across the scanner bed, and we want it to be 600 dots per inch grayscale because this is just a black and white image. So let's try that. So I'll hit scan, and it's going to take a minute. Now you're going to find I know there's going to be a problem with this image because the very first here it comes. The very first episodes that I drew in ballpoint pen. So let's see what this looks like. We'll close that down, and here's our scan right here. Lovely name. All right, so I'm going to open this up with my GIMP. If you use Photoshop, it's going to be very similar to this. I'll just drag it into GIMP here. And let's do, we'll rotate it around, image transform. Let's rotate it counterclockwise so it's a little more square. And there's our image. So we scanned it as grayscale. Let's zoom in on that first panel there. So you can see every pixel is a shade of white to black or gray in between. And each pixel has to choose some gradation of that. Let's see. Now we're going to have a problem. Like I said, I drew this with a ballpoint pen. So as you can see, some of the lines are a little scratchy and some of the lettering is very faint. And what we need to do, first of all, it's a little crooked on the scanner, but we can fix that. I'm going to use my rotate tool to rotate it slightly. That looks about right. And I find I don't trust my own sense of rotation because I've been looking at the artwork, my own artwork for a while. So often I find it helps to flip the artwork horizontally and you very quickly see if it's crooked or not. That's looking a little better. So I'll undo that flip. All right, I kind of have to look at it in a new angle or flipped around upside down or something so I can see it fresh. I'm going to go in here and crop this down because we don't need all that spiral binding and stuff. We're focused on the artwork here. So let's go in and do image, crop to selection, and we'll crop it right down. Now this, if I tried to print this image in a graphic novel or a mini comic or a collection, it would print horribly. There's actually no black value in there, just very dark gray. And that's how the ink looks to the scanner. So we need to boost this so that it becomes pure black and white. Now here's the problem. If I do image. Let's see. Let's make sure it's a grayscale. Yeah, good. Then what I'll do is if I do color, brightness, contrast, which you have in Photoshop too, if I boost the contrast, the darker pixels get darker and the lighter pixels get lighter. And we have this problem where some of the pixels get dark, but very few, and a lot of them get light. If I darken the whole image, more of those pixels will get darker. But if it's too dark at a certain point, you're not going to be able to read the words and it looks terrible. So this is why, this is the main reason. Let's not do that yet. This is the main reason why I don't draw comics in ballpoint pen. And you probably also saw I drew this at size. I didn't know what I was doing on this day. So I went in and I measured out the newspaper strips in the space in the newspaper that I was going to submit this for. And I drew them at size. I always recommend draw double sized. So let's do this. I have an idea here. Let's go in and we'll blur this. And I'll show you that up close. I'll undo that. So this is what the pixels look like off the scanner. And when I blur it, they blur slightly. And now, hopefully that'll smooth them out. Let's blur it one more time, actually. There we go. That's a little better. Hopefully that'll smooth out some of the roughness. And now I love this tool under colors in, where is it? Threshold. That's like an extreme contrast boost. And that makes the image, makes every pixel either black or white. As I shift this little triangle along the shades, it determines where that shifting point is, where that midpoint is. And I need to get this to a place where all the letters show up. This looks awful. This is why I don't draw with ballpoint pen. You know, I can see that in order to make this a printable file, I'm probably going to have to go with what the artwork needs. Ignore those letters for now. And I'll probably have to go back in by hand. See, some of these letters are just too dark. It's nice to see on this 25-year-old page that I really have learned something, because I think you'll see my newer pages are a little more readable. I'll do my best there, and I might just have to say, okay, and then go in later with a pen tool set to black ink and take some of these. Let me make that pen tool a little smaller, maybe 10 pixels, and actually firm up some of these letters so that they're readable. I mean, look at that word, cityscape. The ink of this pen is so blotchy, you really can't even see the letters. Well, you know, for the very first episode of the first daily strip I ever drew, I guess it was okay enough that people could read it and they read the second episode. Because I drew this series for 3 years, and maybe next I'll pull out some of the stuff from like semester 5 and 6, and you'll see it's much more readable. Much more, it wasn't drawn with ballpoint pen, I'll tell you that. You know, I can also go in with white ink here with my pen tool and take out some of these blotches. But, you know, that's kind of a long, maybe weekend evening, sitting at home during quarantine, listening to an audiobook kind of thing. Probably not the greatest use of our time here as a live video. So you get the sense here. Definitely going to have to fix that Earth 2460 AD. There's some fix-up to do here. Might just do better to redraw these whole episodes. All right, so here's the next thing. Once I get them in shape, I'm going to go in and change the mode, because this is still grayscale. That's going to be a huge file. I'm going to switch to indexed, and that means it indexes the colors that each pixel has, and it only includes those colors. So grayscale has millions of possible shades, or at least thousands. What I want is not optimum palette here. I always go to use black and white 1-bit palette, and we'll convert to that. That makes this so that every pixel is either a 0 or a 1, white or black. And that's going to print really clearly if I can get the pixels in order. But the ink will print really clearly on the page. Let's also go in here and I'll select outside the panels. And I'll just, actually, let's crop it down by eye for today. This will be close enough. I'm going to crop it down. There's a couple little blotches and blips outside these strips. I'll go in there, go to image, crop to selection, and it's a little smaller. Now I'm going to save that. Now in Photoshop, you can save it. In GIMP, you have to export as. I'll go to my desktop and I'll create a folder. I'll call it Quasar Blasters or Quasar Blasters Scans, maybe. And you know what I'm also going to do? I'm going to create a folder in there called temp. And that's where I'm going to save all my scans just into that temp file. So let's call this, we'll call it project name QB. Episodes 01, 02, and 03. And I'll even call that a temp file. And I'll save it as a TIFF. I can even compress it so it's a smaller file. LZW compression is good for this, but you can't use that for printing. Oh, it's not going to save it. Let me copy that. I'll go back out. I actually have to flatten the image. There we go. Because this is treating it as a couple layers. Now I can go back in and export. I will go into the Quasar Blaster Scan Temps, give my file name. There we go. Now it should work. None or LZW compression, doesn't matter because I won't actually print from this file. Now I can I'm going to keep this original scan so I can go back to it if I need to make any changes to the files I create. I will select this. I'll crop to that selection. There it is. And I will save that, or in GIMP language, export that into the Quasar Blaster Scans file. And I'll call that QB01 because that's my first episode. And as a TIFF file, looking good. No compression this time, because this is the file I might use once I fix up the words, the letters, and some of the details. This is the file I would be using in whatever book I make or mini comic I make. And that's my goal this month, to scan a bunch of these old strips and put together a 25th anniversary anthology of it. Again, I'll crop to this selection. I'll go in and I'll save this as QB2. And Quasar Blaster Scans, no compression, good. I'll undo that. I'll select the third episode from my temp file. There we go. I'll crop to that and I'll save that as 3. That's going to take some real relettering work, I think. Only these first couple episodes are that bad, though. No compression. All right. Let's go in and check on here's our Quasar Blaster Scans folder. We open it up and we have now 3 files in there. 1, 2, and 3. Great. And then I'll scan the next page and I'll have 4, 5, and 6. And then they get bigger and easier to read after that. And this one, in the temp file, I still have this original scan here that I can go back to. If any of these files get corrupted or get lost or I make changes I don't like, I can always go back to that original temp file and pull a new episode 1, 2, or 3 out of it. Okay, super. So that's done. Now I can close this out. Let's see, we'll just hit the X there. Discard changes. Now I'm going to pull a different file in. Let's see, I'll show you. Woo! I'll show you in person here. So I also scanned in the front and back cover for Bar's Fight, right? And that you'll see, because this is not done in ballpoint. It's done with our felt tip pens and markers, black on white paper. It's going to come out much more clearly. And then today, actually, maybe what we'll do now is I'll do this one that I just drew this morning. This is a cover for another mini. And I think you'll really see the difference now. Also, notice I drew this much bigger so that I can shrink it down. So let's go back to our crazy screen here. All right. Oh, there he is. So this project I'll drag into the GIMP program. And there it is. Now look at these pixels. Remember how gray and faded those ballpoint pen pixels looked. These pixels, while they're not perfectly black, are actually darker gray. There's a little bit of a smudge there. That was maybe dust on the scanner bed. All right, so here I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select all, and I'll go into the grayscale. It is a grayscale image, good. So first I'm going to go to, let's blur it first. So I'll go into blur. Let's look at that up close and make sure it worked. Undo, the pixels look pretty sharp. Blurred, it smooths it out a little bit. I don't lose any resolution from that. And then I'm going to go into colors threshold, and this should be striking. Look at that. It's so clean compared to that Quasar Blaster's garbage. I didn't know what I was doing in that first episode. So 25 years later, at least I've learned to use better black ink and make sure the ink is darker on the white paper. So that looks about good for our threshold. Okay, there are a couple places I could clean this up, right? I can go in with my pen tool with white ink, and I can just clean up a couple little splotches there right here at this cravat. Let's see, we'll go in with some black ink and just tidy that up a little. And I'm not going to get too finicky about all this, but there are a couple places to clean it up maybe. Let's see. Oh, look, there's some white spots on my, on my T's here. So I'll go in with black ink and fix those and so on. I might fix up that number sign. This is issue number 1 of a series that I'm planning. So here's the other thing I'm going to do. I want these letters. Oh, let's save that before we forget. Or in GIMP language, we'll export as. I'll create a folder on the desktop called Jeremiah Crocker. And remember, I'll create a temp folder in that, and we'll call this JC00 because it's page 0, it's the front cover, and we'll just create a temp file there. And I can compress it to LZW so it's a smaller file. All right. Oh, you know what? It's still grayscale, isn't it? Let's also change the image mode to indexed. That'll make it a much smaller file. Convert, and then I will just export to. Okay, that saved it. All right, next I'm going to export it as not the temp file, but into the regular folder, the Jeremiah Crocker folder here. And we'll just take off temp here. I'll put OFC so I know that's the outside front cover. As a TIFF, no compression, good. Now here's the other thing. This is a real time saver when I scan my files digitally. You notice those letters are outlined, but they're white. What I was thinking is I would actually go in and black them this way with my paint bucket. That saves me a lot of marker coloring. And as you saw, that marker coloring doesn't always come out pure black, whereas this makes every pixel inside those letters pure black. I just need to be careful to make sure the letters are all closed shapes, but that's much faster and blacker than coloring it by hand. The other thing I thought I'd do, let's just try this. So that's, let me save that. Export as itself, replace, good. All right, so that's striking enough. But the other thing I wanted to try here, I like how this is looking. I'm going to use my lasso tool to select this figure, this missing revolutionary, the mystery man here. This is a bit of a mystery story that started just last week, actually, in the graveyards here around town. And I've been just kind of obsessively researching and exploring on this story since then. I've got the person selected. I'm going to go in with the wand, negative select, and subtract the space around him. And that looks good, okay. And then I'm gonna go in. Now here's the thing, I wanna invert him so he's black on the inside and the lines become white. But here's the thing, if I do that while the image is indexed color, something funny happens. Let's go to colors, value invert, the whole image inverts, which looks kind of striking. I like that look too, but here's what I wanna do. To do that inversion, I'll have to go mode grayscale, image mode grayscale. Then I can invert it. Boom, and it's just the figure. Oh, look at that. There's a little empty spot right there that needs to be subtracted. So let's undo that. Let's go in with our subtraction wand. We'll take that out. There we go. Now we should be able to invert values. There we go. And let's do select all. Ooh, I like the look of that. That's striking. Oh, that's just the thing we needed on this cover. All right, I'm going to save this also as OFC plus invert, right? So I have the option to go back to the other version if I want to. And let's just check that out. Where's our Jeremiah Crocker? There's the folder. We'll open that up. And there are our two options. And I think this one with the inverted figure is much more striking. So I'm going to just put this uninverted one into the temp folder, and we'll build the project from there. I have a bunch more pages to scan and so on, right? But that gives you a sense of what it looks like as I'm scanning these pages and as I'm processing these. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer comments. You can comment after this video is done. Maybe I'll post some links. I'm actually drawing some pages that kind of outline this process, so you can print them out and look at them too. We have a couple comments here. J Guitar, greetings, Master Bennett. Greetings, Master J Guitar. Nice to see you. Which graveyard? This is Jeremiah Crocker. If you're near Henniker, New Hampshire, Jeremiah Crocker is in the Central Cemetery, which is right behind the meeting house, the town hall, the baseball field and stuff like that. And you can go explore. He's a veteran of the Revolutionary War with an amazing story, but that story, I'm just starting to piece together some of the clues of it. I'll show you the project as I'm getting the pages in. But yeah, I'm excited to finally have a cover and to be getting this done. So this afternoon, I'm going to run out to the copy shop and print up some tests. And I'm also going to post I don't see my cards here. Here they are. I'll also post sample pages over on the Patreon, right? So head over to merrickbennett.com. Patreon.com/merrickbennett is where you can become a patron, help us do more of these programs. Thanks everybody for signing up and joining. I'm looking forward to seeing how your comics are coming out. And if you get a chance to scan them and you try boosting contrast like that, and I can squeeze under my scanner under the desk here. Remember, don't be like me 25 years ago and draw tiny, tiny in ballpoint pen, right? Draw large with a felt tip or better, a pigment marker or pen, and you'll get a much better result. And also just keep drawing for 25 years. That's what I recommend too. Put in the time, do the pages, and enjoy your work. Great, so I'll do some more live draws soon. We have a library event this afternoon over in Bedford, so I'm looking forward to that. We have a nice big crowd for that. Otherwise, I'll see you over at the Comics Camp Clubhouse. Come on over to the Patreon and join us. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. See you soon. End broadcast.